Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is, what if Naruto went back in time with a female Kyuubi in his harem part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Suddenly, the young man's chakra begins to spike and 9 tails emerge from his back. Out of instinct, Minato pulls Kushina out of her seat and shields her with his body, his trusted 3-pronged kunai in his hand. Ignoring the tense atmosphere, Ginkgo walks past Minato, moves next to Kyuubi, and, after a quick bow, nuzzles against Kyuubi's leg. Seeing that the Kyuubi doesn't mean any harm, Kushina leaves the living room to handle the Anbu that is sure to arrive. Oi, you stupid fox, what do you think you're doing scaring my parents like that? Naruto screams, coming downstairs, and hide your stupid tails. We need to find a cover story for when the Anbu gets here. Che, you always want to spoil my fun kit, Kyuubi says. Alright, Shukaku, Nekomata, stop cowering and get down here. Begrudgingly, Gaara and Yugito slowly descend the stairs. Even if Kyuubi isn't paying attention to them, Gaara and Yugito can't help but to feel slightly scared and they decide to hide behind Naruto. There are a few things we need to discuss, so take a seat, Kyuubi says to the 3 youngsters. Did I miss anything? Kushina asks, returning to the living room. Not at all. We are just getting started, Kyuubi says. It's getting near the time when we extract Shukaku and Nekomata from these 2. In order to do that, we need the power of the Shinigami. Why would we need the Shinigami? Naruto asks. We need someone with the power to extract souls from a human body. I can't think of any other beings who can perform the job. But in order to do that, we need to use the Shiki Fujin, Minato says. Yes. But with a sacrifice of soul, we can exchange it to spare yours. Shinigami should be happy to make that deal. After all, he can't be too happy about having his pet sealed in a human. You mean we need to offer someone as a sacrifice? I can't. Don't worry little Hokage. We have a spare soul handy for use, Kyuubi says, patting Ginkgo's head. You mean you're going to sacrifice Ginkgo-chan? Naruto screams. Heavens no. There is no way I'll offer her up. She still need to serve another purpose. I'll get to her next, Kyuubi says. I'm talking about the spirit of the mad priest sealed in Gaara along with the Shukaku. I'm sure the Shinigami wanted to collect that overdue soul for a while now. I almost forgot about that. That's what made Shukaku so difficult to control in the first place. That's right, Kit. Now that you and your father managed to separate the 2, it makes things much easier for all of us. So when and where should we perform the ceremony? In a secluded area on the night of the new moon, Kyuubi says. The lack of light should hide our purpose well. This isn't something we want to do in broad daylight. That's a week away, but where should we host it? How about the Forest of Death? How would you know about that god-awful? Minato says before noticing his son's annoyed glare. Ah, right. Forgot about that. Anyway, the Forest of Death should be secluded enough. That takes care of one order of business. Now, the second topic at hand relates to your son. What do you want from me now, you stupid fox? Like I said 4 years ago, I have chosen you to be my successor. I'm certain Ginkgo already told you about how you're a Hanyu. Wait, Naruto-kun's a Hanyu. Why didn't you tell me about that, Minato? I don't know he's a Hanyu either. Don't blame Dad. It's not something that's easy to bring up, so I didn't tell either one of you, Naruto says. It's a side effect from how I got back here. You already made up your mind, Kyuubi, so why bring it up now? Seeing that you're not exactly my kin, I have to have a good reason to hand my throne to you. Being trapped in me for that long still isn't a good enough reason. I never was trapped in you in this lifetime. Therefore, there is no good reason for you to succeed me. What are you trying to get at? Ginkgo, do it. Nodding her head, Ginkgo stands up on her hind legs and slowly morphs into the form of a young girl. When the transformation is complete, A young girl with pale skin and waist-length silver hair dressed in a sparkling silver robe stands in front of everyone. Ginkgo-chan. You never told me you can transform into a human, Naruto says. I'm a kitsune. All kitsune has the ability to take the form resembling a human. The other demons can transform to a certain extent as well, but the weaker ones would have difficulty holding the form. And I can assure you that my daughter is a very powerful kitsune, nothing like the others. Ginkgo-chan is your daughter. You are not planning what I think you are planning, are you? Minato says, eyeing both Kyuubi and Ginkgo, you're going to force Naruto and Ginkgo to get married. That would make him my kin, wouldn't it? Kyuubi says, I see no other method that would appease the other demons. If the demons start fighting each other for power, it can very well spill over to the human world. That is something that neither of us want to happen. But, that's enough, Naruto, we can get back to this topic later, Minato says. Very well. We don't need to go into details for a few years yet. This brings me to last topic at hand. But first, I need to speak to Shukaku and Nekomata directly in private. Naruto looks over to Gaara and Yugito to gauge their reaction. Seeing their hesitancy, Naruto tries to convince Kyuubi to let him join the conversation. At first, Kyuubi is adamant that the conversion be between the three Biju only, but eventually, Kyuubi makes the concession to let Ginkgo accompany the two Jinchuriki. While still concerned, Gaara and Yugito know that the Kyuubi won't be making any more concessions and follow Kyuubi to one of the side rooms. About 15 minutes later, the pair enters the living room again, bordering on chakra exhaustion. Knowing how tiring it can be for the host to allow the Biju to take full control, Naruto already has some snacks prepared for the two. I found out all I need to know, Kyuubi says as he walks into the living room with Ginkgo. Now, after the ceremony, Shukaku, Nekomata, and I will be taking the three children on a small training trip, just to let them learn their new abilities from becoming a Hanyu. Exactly how long is this small trip? Minato asks. Depends on how quickly they learn. Conservative guess would be about a year. There's one thing I need to do before I can go with you, Naruto says. Yes, the Uchiha wouldn't want that happening again, or else I'll have to personally make sure that his clan will die out before it's time, just to save us the trouble this time around, Kyuubi says. Don't worry, kid, whatever you have planned, you'll have three Biju backing you up. I doubt the Shinigami will be so forgiving toward us this time around if the same thing happens again. You three together should be able to defeat Itachi. We should still have a few months before he attacks Shisui. The extractions should be done by then, Naruto says. Prevent him from gaining the Mangekyo in the first place. It seems you did pick up some tactics from all the lessons I taught you after all. It's a nice idea, but did you consider what to do with him afterward? Attacking a fellow Konoha nin is an act of treason. We can deal him however we want, Minato says. You speak as though he will be sitting around waiting patiently for you to pass your judgment. So you're suggesting? That's right, Hokage. If we do what your son suggests, we have to kill him on the spot. Of course, that would mean we have to take out Uchiha Shisui as well, least he feels responsible and he gains the Mangekyo. After that, since there will be no witness to what actually happened, those close to the two will want to take revenge by hitting out on people they think is responsible. If you're lucky, you might get away with a minor civil war and keep your position. Just preventing Shisui's death and letting Itachi get away is not an option either. Are you sure we can't just capture him alive? You do realize how difficult to capture someone alive as opposed to killing him in an all-out fight, right? Kyuubi asks. After all, Sasuke would never have been to get away from you at the Valley of the End if you didn't care about keeping him alive. What do you suggest then? Relax, Kit. I wonder how many Iwa nin you have under your watch in your prison. We still have a few that tried to assassinate several of our more prominent ninjas. Minato starts then stops abruptly. I see. Now all we need is to set the whole thing up. I hate to lose two of my better ninjas like this, but it appears I have no choice. They aren't yours to have in the first place. If you allow things to progress as is, you're going to lose those two along with the rest of the Uchiha clan. Shukaku, Nekomata, and I will take out the trash along with them, so I only need you to hold the other ninjas back until we've finished the job. All I need to do is to send them out to take care of a few prisoners in secret, Minato says. That's rather standard procedure for taking care of the more dangerous prisoners the other villages tried to negotiate a release for. It seems we have covered everything. I will be back in 6 days. A week later, a small group is gathered around a small fire in the Forest of Death. Minato set up a small camp as soon as they entered. While the others are waiting patiently, Naruto is pacing back and forth as Kyuubi has yet to arrive. Sit down, Naruto, you're making me dizzy, Ginko says, once again in her human form. Where is your father? He should have returned yesterday. Chi-Chi-Yui will be here, don't worry, Ginko says. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he's already here. I'm nervous. What if things don't work out the way we planned it? Don't worry, Yugito-chan. If there's one thing the darn fox is good at, it's figuring out how a Biju can escape from the host. He's been trying for a long time before, he knows what he's talking about. Is that supposed to flatter me? Kyuubi says in his human form, hanging upside down on a tree branch. You're right about him after all, Ginko-chan. He is my father Naruto, Ginko says, standing up and brushing away imaginary dusts. Let's get started. I will stabilize Gaara's body with my chakra while you two do the same for Yugito. Your father will summon the Shinigami. To make things easier, Gaara, Yugito, you two should let Shukaku and Nekomata take over for now. Remember, once the Hokage summons the Shinigami, let me do all the talking. Nodding their head, Gaara and Yugito close their eyes and slowly let their demon chakra fill their body. When they open their eyes again, Naruto can spot the telltale sign that the Biju are in control and gestures for his father to perform the Shiki Fujin. So you have summoned me again. Perhaps you are desperate for me to capture your soul. Excuse me, Shinigami-sama, but we have a task that only you can complete. Kyuubi, it seems that you are already released from your prison. I suppose I can listen to your request, but don't expect me to let you off easy if I find your request a waste of my time. Thank you, Shinigami-sama. We wish to release Shukaku and Nekomata from these two youngsters' body. We know that only Shinigami-sama can ensure the safety of both the children and the Biju. Nekomata, sealed inside a human child. Very well, but what do you offer in exchange for saving the children's life? The spirit of a crazed priest is sealed in this young boy's body along with Shukaku. Is his soul enough in exchange? Hardly. If you offer my summoner's life as well, then perhaps I can reconsider. No, Naruto screams, leave my father alone. If you want someone's life, then take mine instead. Naruto, be quiet. I said let me do all the talking. Silence, Kyuubi. If you are offering yourself, then I suppose you would have to do. Are you sure you are willing to die in place of your father? It's not like I haven't died before. Beside, I already told my dad everything major that happened in my past life. Kyuubi can fill in the details when my dad needs the information. Very well, Shinigami says, reaching out with his arm. No, Ginko screams, moves in front of Naruto and faces him. Why can't we just offer this Itachi person instead? Chi-Chi-Yui and you are trying to get rid of him, right? Foolish girl. A sacrifice must offer his own life willingly. But your target isn't willing. What about them? Listen carefully, little girl. I said the sacrifice, not the target. Then take mine instead. Leave Naruto alone. Ginko screams. Naruto still has a lot of important things he needs to do. Ginko-chan. Gomen Naruto-san. I promised you and Kushina-san that you will have a wife in this lifetime, but it seems that I am unable to deliver on that promise myself. As Naruto and Ginko are talking, the Shinigami reaches out toward the pair before Kyuubi can voice his opinion on the matter. While keeping one eye on Ginko, Naruto waits until the last moment before pushing Ginko out of the way, intending to take the blow himself. However, Instead of reaching through him, the Shinigami once again reaches past him and into Yugito's body instead. Staring wide-eyed at the god of death, Naruto moves closer to Gaara just in case the Shinigami decides to take the soul after extracting the two biju. Pulling out Nekomata's soul, the Shinigami plants the soul through a portal in the ground before reaching out toward Gaara and repeating the action with Shukaku. Once he's finished, the Shinigami reaches out toward Gaara again and pulls out the screaming soul of the crazed priest before devouring him. Looking over toward Kyuubi, the Shinigami points toward him then gestures toward Gaara and Yugito. Finally understanding the Shinigami's instructions, Kyuubi calls out to Ginkgo and Naruto as he rushes over toward Gaara and transfers a small amount of his chakra to the young boy's body while the pair does the same for Yugito. You, the Shinigami says, pointing toward Naruto, still serves a purpose in this world. The care you two show toward each other convinced me that you could accomplish the task assigned to you. I shall allow you two to stay in this realm for now, but rest assured, if you should fail in your task, your punishment after your death shall be most painful. Just as the Shinigami disappears, two forms slowly come out of the portal in the ground. At first one figure has the rough form of a raccoon while the other resembles a cat, but they slowly morphs into a man at about Kyuubi's height with brown hair and a woman with black hair a couple inches shorter. Finally, I'm out of that kid's body, the man says. Not that I'm complaining about being freed, but I am slightly concerned about the girl now that she no longer has my power to protect her, the woman adds. I don't want to see her appearing in my domain anytime soon. That's why you are going to teach her how to fend for herself, or did you forget my instructions already? Ah, Kyuubi-sama, it's nice to see you again, the woman says. Oi, you darn fox. About time you show your face again, the man says, smirking. Do you still want to challenge me, you stupid raccoon? Kyuubi answers, returning the smirk with one of his own. Excuse me. What do you want, you stupid human child? The man screams. Why aren't Gaara and Yugito-chan waking up? Do not be concerned about your friends, the woman says, kneeling next to Naruto, they are merely exhausted. They should be fine in the morning. You and your father should be honored. No one survives meeting with Shinigami-sama once, yet both of you survived twice already. I wouldn't suggest tempting fate too often though, Shinigami-sama is most generous for forgiving you two twice. I see, are you, Nekomata? Naruto says as the woman nods, and he's Shukaku. That's right, brat. Surprised to see us in this form? Not really. Ginkgo-chan did say that powerful demons can take human forms. Ah yes, the kitsune brat. Never thought I'd see a kitsune grow so attached to a mere human. Be quiet, Shukaku. I for one think it's nice, the will those two showed in protecting each other. I never expected my daughter to grow a soft spot for him so quickly. They only spent 4 years with each other. Only 4. My, that is quite fast, Nekomata says. 4 years is fast. Naruto asks. Apparently you don't quite understand demons yet, young child, Nekomata says. We demons have much longer lifespan than mere humans, in terms of thousands or even tens of thousands compared to your mere decades. 4 years to us is a very short period of time. Of course, on a few rare cases, I do see human love continuing in my realm. Your realm? I believe your kind calls it the underworld. It is the realm I stay in with my master Shinigami-sama. No need to tell him everything. The fox will tell him in due time if he's planning what I think he's planning. I suppose you are correct, Shukaku. Did you find what you asked for, Kyuubi-sama? I'll have them sign the contract when they wake up. Or, you can give it to them yourselves, Kyuubi says, taking out 2 small summoning contract scrolls. Why are your summoning contracts so small? I've seen Ero Sennin's frog summoning contract and Orochimaru's snake summoning contract, they're huge. We are not meant to be summoned, Ginkgo says. Bakeneko, Tanuki, and Kitsune are all known to be shapeshifters. People would normally deem as too dangerous to summon. Not to mention the fact that we don't like to be summoned either. Of course, Being shapeshifters also allows us to be more in tune with human behaviors. One reason that we tend to be more willing to work with people that we deem worthy, Nekomata says. Perhaps we should continue this conversation back at the house, Minato says. The two kids look like they can use a nice, soft bed. He's right. We've accomplished what we need to do here. Let's head back, Kyuubi says. The next morning, Gaara and Yugito groggily walk out of their respective room, bodies still weakened from what happened last night. When they get downstairs, they find Naruto's family along with Kyuubi and two people they've never met before sitting in the dining room enjoying breakfast. The two kids are finally up, Kyuubi says without looking up, his back facing the pair. Good, then we can get them to sign the contract, take care of who we need to take care of, and leave for training. Relax, Tanuki, can't you ever let someone have their meal in peace? If you eat everything in one go instead of playing with your food, you would have finished a long time ago like everyone else. Bakeneko. Would you two be quiet? Gaara and Yugito-chan still haven't eaten anything yet. The boy has guts talking to us like that, I'll give him that much. Gomen Shukaku-sama, Ginkgo says before turning to Naruto, you need to show Shukaku-sama and Nekomata-sama some respect. Naruto-san. Meh, I'm going to be the lord of all demons. I'll show them respect when they deserve it. Upon hearing Naruto's words, Ginkgo immediately blushes and looks down to her lap, fidgeting her fingers, a sign that Naruto has seen many times in his previous life and still has no idea the meaning of. Did you forget the stipulation that would make you the demon lord? Kyuubi asks, or are you no longer fighting against it? What? Naruto asks, completely missing Kyuubi's amused tone. The thing between you and Ginkgo-chan, Kushina reminds her son, you're not planning on doing nothing after you've embarrassed the poor girl like this, are you? I never really given it much thought. I mean, I just found out she can morph into a human a few days ago. Do you prefer that I stay in this form, Naruto-san? Ginkgo asks, again in a tone that Naruto knows well. I don't know. I guess you should take whichever form you're comfortable with. Stay in this form, might as well get used to it. You'll be training in this form if you wish to help Naruto in whatever he needs to do. Hi Chichi-Yui, when are you going to organize the assassination mission? The quicker we get that done, the quicker we can start the training, the quicker they can finish, and the quicker we can get back to our world. Impatient as always Shukaku, but I agree, I'm sure both Shukaku and I would like to go back to our realm to check on our underlings after being away for so long. I was waiting until you have recovered from the extraction. I can assure you we most certainly have recovered, Shukaku says, flexing his muscle. Very well. I will arrange for it to happen tonight. Secret execution grounds, 5 miles north of the village gate. It's hidden under a strong genjutsu, only Anbu would know its exact location. I'm sure the three of us can see through the illusions, Kyuubi says, there may be some chakra spikes, I'm sure you can convince the others that it's only from Itachi and Shisui's fight against the Iwa Nins. There shouldn't be any problems there. Good. I guess Shukaku, Nekomata, and I will start getting ready. Later that night, the two Uchiha are leading the two semi-conscious Iwa Nins to the execution ground. They have placed a strong genjutsu on the two Iwa Nins to keep them from struggling. When they finally arrives, Itachi and Shisui remove the katana strapped on their back, looking to finish the job quickly. However, as soon as they enter the clearing, Kyuubi, hidden in the shadow with Shukaku and Nekomata, cancels the genjutsu on the two Iwa Nins just in time for the two prisoners to roll out of the way of the sword strike. The fight lasted for several minutes, each side landing multiple strikes. Soon enough, the two Iwa Nins lay dead in the clearing with Itachi and Shisui sporting several wounds. During the entire fight, Shukaku has been slowly turning the ground around the clearing into sand, and as soon as the fight is over, Itachi turns his attention on Shisui, trying to use the fight against the Iwa Nins as a cover for Shisui's death, but two walls of sand shoot up from the ground and engulfs the two Uchiha and within seconds both are completely crushed. As soon as the sand retreats and reveals the two bodies, Nekomata, using her power, reanimated the two Iwa nins to create a swamp to hide the sand, then create boulders to place on Itachi and Shisui's body to set a scene of them being crushed by the boulders before releasing her control, allowing the two carcasses to tumble to the ground. Leaping out of the tree, the three Biju check to make sure that all their targets are indeed dead. Satisfied with the job they've done, the three Biju leave the clearing to report back to the Hokage. Is it over? Minato asks, sitting in his office with a bottle of sake sitting on the desk in front of him. Yeah, we made sure of it, Kyuubi says. I'll send someone to pick up the bodies, Minato says, writing a mission slip and handing it to one of the messenger birds in the room. When are you going to take the children on the training trip? As soon as possible. It's probably too late at night to let the kids know. We'll head out the day after tomorrow. Very well. Don't worry about the kids, they'll be just fine, Kyuubi says, and don't feel guilty about the Uchiha. It's not an easy decision, but it's the right decision. I sure hope so. About 10 months after the three youngsters left the village, Kushina and Minato are becoming more and more concerned. They have not heard any news about the children, and Suna has been increasing its pressure on Konoha regarding the location of Gaara. Minato has been delaying the inevitable by stating that the children are on a secret training mission, but he just received a message from the Case Cage demanding that he recall the children and that the Case Cage will visit the village in a week. At the moment, Minato is pacing about in his office, trying to figure out a way to avoid this political disaster. Just as he is about to give up, the entire village is enshrouded by massive waves of chakra, but the chakra waves disappear just as quickly as it appeared. Alarmed, many ninjas gather at the village gate, in the general direction where the chakra originated. What they find there are four small, cloaked figures approaching the gate. With all the attention focused on the four figures, they completely miss the three figures hidden in the shadows of the trees. When some of the ninjas finally shake out of their stupor, they find the four figures have already walked past them in the direction of the Hokage Tower. Before the ninjas can stop them, Minato appears in front of the figures and engulfs one of them in a hug. Welcome home, children, Minato says, finally letting go of the figure. It's good to be home, Dad. When the figures remove their cloaks, all the ninjas present are surprised to find the three children that had been mysteriously missing for the past 10 months, along with a silver-haired young girl they have never seen before. I'm glad that the four of you are back. The Case Cage is visiting in a week and he's demanding to see Gaara. I figured we can't keep this a secret for too long, Naruto says. Well, at least we got back in time. Yes, and I bet Kushina will be thrilled to know that you four are back. Speaking of which, that was quite an impressive trick. That was just Kyuubi-sama, Nibi-sama, and Ikibi-sama, Ginkgo says. They are hidden in the shadows. That'll get some unwanted rumors going, Naruto says, looking back toward the ninjas still gathered at the gate. It would appear that way. I'm sure my father will catch wind of this display as well. We can use that to our advantage. Look at how strong you got after this secret training. Surely your father can't complain about the result, Naruto says. And I'm sure Kumo will regret giving up on me after hearing what just happened. You do not need to be concerned. Shinigami-sama cannot be happy that the people of Kumo sealed Nekomata-sama in you. They will feel the wrath of Shinigami-sama eventually, Ginkgo says. Let's go home. It's starting to feel weird having all these people staring at us, Naruto says. Yeah, you're right. As soon as they walk through the doors, Naruto is tackled to the ground by Temari and Koyuki. It's not until Ginkgo practically tears the two girls away from Naruto forcefully with a low growl that the two girls acknowledge the other two former Jinchuriki. While he doesn't show it, Gaara is fuming that his sister passed over her own brother for another boy. Look, Minato-kun, our little boy is all grown up. You're right, Kushina-chan. He's turning into a heartbreaker. Mom, Dad, don't be ridiculous. Minato-kun, we should invite Tsunade Ba-chan and the others over for a welcome back feast tonight. That's a good idea, Kushina-chan. I bet they miss Naruto after not seeing him for so long. I'll send someone to tell them. I got it, Mom, Naruto says, creating a cage bunshin and sending him off. I'm heading back to my room, wake me up when they get here, okay? With Temari and Koyuki's attention focused on Gaara and Yugito, they miss the fact that Ginkgo is following Naruto up to his room. While they heard part of the story from Gaara and Yugito, the two girls still have no idea about the handshake agreement between Naruto and Kyuubi regarding Ginkgo's future. Another thing they don't know is that there is a second handshake agreement, this one between Ginkgo and Yugito. When Temari and Koyuki ask the two Jinchuriki to train with them, Yugito says she needs to rest up and heads upstairs, leaving Gaara with the two girls. Instead of going back to her own room, Yugito heads into Naruto's room, where Naruto is already lying in his bed trying to go to sleep and Ginkgo is sitting on the floor watching him. The two girls' eyes meet for a brief moment and Yugito casts a genjutsu on Naruto, putting him to sleep immediately. Once that's done, both Ginkgo and Yugito jump into bed with Naruto, one lying on each side of the boy cuddling up against to him. That night, when Kushina walks into her son's room, she can't help but smile at the scene in front of her. Naruto is still in his bed, his arms around the two girls' shoulder. The two girls are cuddled up against him, their tiny hands clutching at Naruto's shirt. It's not until Naruto turns his head toward Kushina that she realizes her son is awake. Now, I expected you to wait a few years before you go sleeping around with girls. They put me under a genjutsu then sneaked in bed with me. Well, if they did, how did you break out of it? When my cage bunshin dispelled, it generated an influx of chakra that helps me break out of the illusion. Well, let's wake up the two girls, everyone is waiting downstairs. You do it. I want to see their reaction. You are a mean child, Naruto. Naruto winks at her mother before closing his eyes and pretends to be asleep. When Kushina goes and wakes Ginkgo and Yugito, Naruto can't help but smirk at how the two girls bolt upright, as evident from the sudden disappearance of the pressure from their head on his shoulders. Suddenly, Naruto lets out a soft groan, which causes the two girls to practically leap off his bed and hide behind Kushina. Reaching with his hand, Naruto pretends to rub the sleep out of his eyes and roll over on his side before slowly opening his eyes to see his mother smirking at him, silently telling him that the girls still haven't realized they are tricked. Sitting up, Naruto returns Kushina's smirk as the two girls slowly walks out of Naruto's room to clean up and get ready for dinner. You should have seen how red those two's face got when I woke them up, Kushina says as soon as the girls left the room. Oh, I can just imagine, Naruto says, applying a certain Hyuga's blush on the girl's face in his mind. Well, anyway, everyone's here so you should probably get ready. By the time Naruto gets downstairs, everyone is already gathered in the living room, talking and laughing. When they see Naruto enter the room, everyone becomes quiet, save for some soft snickering from Kushina. Naruto's here, maybe we should start dinner, Yugito says, blushing bright red. Yeah, I'm really hungry, Ginkgo says, her face matching Yugito's. Without even asking, Naruto already knows what they were talking about before he entered the room. Deciding to spare the two girls from further embarrassment, Naruto agrees with them and clamors for dinner to begin. As soon as everyone is seated, Tsunade reaches into her pocket and pulls out a few bottles of sake while talking to Kushina. Reaching into her weapons pouch, Tenten grabs one of her training kunai and fires it at the bottles. Before the kunai gets close enough for Tsunade to react, Naruto fires one of the unused chopsticks to intercept the kunai. Naruto-sama, why did you do that? Okawa-san shouldn't be drinking. Come on, Tenten-chan. We're celebrating tonight. Let them have their small bit of fun, Naruto says. I guess Naruto-kun is right, Tenten. We should let Tsunade-sama have her fun tonight. She does have tomorrow off after all, so it's not like it's going to interfere with work. You too, Shizune-chan. Oh, fine. Don't expect me to help you carry her home. Despite how righteous Tenten tries to act, She along with the rest of the children beside Naruto are the first ones to get drunk as the adults decide to let them try a small bit of sake. Naruto, having seen the adults replace the water with sake, avoid drink anything for the entire meal. By the end of the meal, Naruto is the only one awake, which leaves him with the task of taking care of everyone. Creating a massive cage bunshin, he moves everyone to their respective rooms before heading back to his own where he finds Ginkgo sitting in his bed waiting for him. Naruto-sama, you're back. Ginkgo-chan, I thought you're asleep. I'm sure you will find that I'm as adapted at pretending to be asleep as you are Naruto-sama. Ah, so you knew. Naruto-sama, there is something I want to talk to you about, Ginkgo suddenly says. What is it, Ginkgo-chan? You are going to be attending the academy in a few months. Do you believe I should go with you in my fox form or my human form? Well, I'm not sure. I prefer the fox form. That way, I can be on the same team with you even if Yugito and Gaara are on the same squad. No matter which form you take, everyone will think something is wrong when the other form is missing. I can create a bunshin of myself, but I need to stay away from the Inuzuka. They will be able to trace my scent. Yeah, you're right. Their nose is a big problem. If you stay in the fox form, your bunshin can stay near Koyuki Hime and use her scent to cover yours, right? In a minor way, yes. I would also need your wallet. Why? Perfumes can cover my scent as well. Even weak perfumes can daze the Inuzuka if they try to enhance their sense of smell. But perfumes are pretty expensive. Chichi-Yui will not be too happy that you are refusing to buy me things. Go ask my parents. I don't have any money, Naruto grumbles. But Naruto-sama, then it wouldn't be a gift from you. Don't give me that look, Ginkgo, Naruto says as he hears a few sniffle. I'll talk to my parents tomorrow. Arigato, Naruto-sama. Well, now that you've finally gotten that off your chest, Naruto says, why did you let Yugito-chan sleep with us? You don't like it, Ginkgo says, tilting her head to the side. Chichi-Yui said that all boys like to have more than one girlfriend and the more the better. Arg, he's as bad as Ero Sennin, Naruto screams, not that I'm upset with the arrangements, I'm more concerned if you are all right with it. Why wouldn't I be? It's not all that uncommon for demons to have multiple mates. Well, if you're sure. So, you're not upset? No, not really. Naruto-sama no eki. You call Chichi-Yui a pervert but you're just as bad, Ginkgo says giggling. Do you wish for me to arrange for Tamari-san and Koyuki-san to stay with us as well? What? No. You can't just go about asking people to join like that. But they seemed like they want to join when Kushina-sama told everyone what happened when she woke Yugito-san and I up. You're kidding, right, Ginkgo-chan? No, I think they were really interested. That can't be right, they didn't show any interest in me before. But you changed a lot of things in this life already, right, Naruto-sama? But, I didn't mean for it to change like that. Yawning, Ginkgo climbs under the cover and cuddles against her pillow. Seeing that Naruto is still standing next to the bed, Ginkgo reaches out and pulls Naruto into bed with her. It doesn't really matter whether you intend for it to happen or not, Ginkgo says, this is the way things are happening, you'll just have to deal with it. The question is how to deal with it. I'm sure you can figure something out, Ginkgo says, now stop moving around and go to sleep. By the end of the week, news of Gaara's display of power has reached the ears of the Cage. When the Cage arrives in Konoha, he immediately demands that Gaara return with him to Suna. However, Gaara only needs to bring up the name Yashimaru to gain the support of both Kenkuro and Tamari. When the Cage tries to force Gaara to return, Naruto and Yugito have to step in to prevent Gaara from using his sand to kill his own father. Seeing that he is outnumbered in Konoha, the Cage begrudgingly agrees to allow Gaara to enter the academy in Konoha, but he quietly vows to himself that he will take every opportunity to force Gaara back to Suna. Gaara's father won't let things go this easily, Naruto says when he and his father are the only ones left in the Hokage's office, we should keep an eye out on Suna. Suna is our ally. And Suna is also very angry with us right now, Naruto says, cutting off his father. Just because Gaara is living in Konoha now doesn't mean that Orochimaru won't contact Suna for a joint attack when the time comes. Sometimes I don't know whether to call you a genius or an idiot, Minato says, sighing. I'm not known as the #1 unpredictable ninja for nothing. Well, we can't do anything about it now. I'll just ask Jiraiya sensei to use his spy network to keep an eye out on Suna, Minato says, gathering several documents on his desk. Well, these are the papers admitting you kids to the Ninja Academy. I just have to figure out how to enter Ginkgo. She and I talked about this before. She says she'll stay in her fox form through the academy. She wants to be on the same team as Gaara, Yugito-chan, and I. That would make things a lot easier. I don't need to come up with an excuse to cover her identity, although I should probably come up with one just in case people start asking about her human form. You can just say that she's the daughter of an old acquaintance of yours that he's leaving in your hands. I suppose that would have to do, Minato says. Shouldn't you be playing with your friends right now? I just want to think some things through, that's all. What's the problem? Remember that day when Gaara, Yugito-chan, and I came back? Mom probably told everyone what she found in my bedroom. Later that night Ginkgo-chan told me that Tamari-chan and Koyuki-hime might feel that way as well. I told Kushina-chan you'll turn into a heartbreaker. Dad, focus on the task at hand. Sure son. What's the problem with having a few girlfriends? What's the problem? I feel bad enough that I'm making Ginkgo-chan and Yugito-chan share me. I can't possibly ask more girls to do the same thing. Well, there is something you should know, Naruto. When I became the Hokage, the council wanted me to take multiple wives to ensure that the Namikaze line continues. Of course I was able to fight them off long enough for Kushina-chan to be pregnant, so they can't keep pushing that idea on me. But Kushina-chan and I aren't getting any younger, and I don't know if Kushina-chan can handle another pregnancy despite what Tsunade-ba-chan says. The council might try to push the same idea on you, especially since they consider you the hero that chased away the Kyuubi. Why not take advantage of it and take all 4 of them as your wives? But that doesn't solve the problem of me feeling guilty about having them share me. Did you consider that maybe they won't care? Minato says, I can tell you that many of the women offering themselves to me back then didn't mind the idea of sharing one bit. But those 4 girls aren't gold diggers like those women who offered themselves to you. You can always sit them down and talk to them to see how they feel, Naruto. Do you think it's easy to approach that subject? I can't just go up and ask them if they love me and do they want to share. Alright, let me just get through these paperwork and we'll head home and talk to Kushina-chan. We can have her talk to the girls. It should be easier for her to broach the subject. I guess that'll have to do. Now that that problem is solved, I'll just have to get through these couple of piles. Why don't you ever use Kage Bunshin to help you do the paperwork? Kage Bunshin, Minato says, stopping suddenly. Why didn't any of the Hokage think of that idea before? Arg, you'd think someone with the title, the professor, would be able to come up with that idea. Maybe he wants you to figure it out on your own and suffer on the way there like he did. Muttering about selfish old men, Minato creates 5 Kage Bunshin and orders them to start working on the paperwork while he heads home with Naruto. After going through the situation with Kushina, she adds another name to the mix. What do you mean Tenten-chan likes me too? She's supposed to like Neji. Well, she hasn't met Neji yet now, has she? Kushina says. But, too late to change that now. I'd bet she's already heads over heels in love with you, Kushina says. There has gotta be some way to change that, right? All I wanted to do was to make Tsunade-ba-chan adopt Tenten-chan. I didn't think she would fall in love with me because of it. Like I said, too late to change that now. I'll have a sit down with all of them when I get the chance. But I don't even know how I feel about them. It's not a bad thing to have that many people love you, Naruto. But it's not fair to them that Naruto, don't worry about it. Just let things come as they will, Minato says. Don't change how you are because you're worried how things would turn out. Remember what I told you in the office, Naruto. I think that might be the best course of action. But don't worry, Naruto, Kushina says, you wouldn't believe how many love letters your father got back in the days. Hey, it's not that long ago, Minato complains. Be quiet, I'm talking to Naruto, Kushina says. Like I was saying, your father received plenty of love letters, and I wasn't angry at him at all. I'll talk to the girls and make them understand the situation. If they can't handle it, then I'll suggest for them to back off. If they can, why don't you give it a try? Fine, Naruto says before whispering to himself, I gotta be more careful in the future. What did I tell you about letting things come naturally, Naruto? Minato says. What's so natural about having this many girlfriends? It's good to know that Ero Sennin hasn't corrupted you yet, Naruto, Kushina says, but Minato-kun is right. Don't let this change who you are. Besides, it's perfectly natural for girls to be fawning all over us, Naruto. It's a curse that we Namikaze must bear. Smiling, Kushina turns her attention on Minato. If Minato is paying attention like Naruto is, he would notice that the smile seems slightly off. Grabbing Minato by the ear, Kushina drags Minato upstairs, twisting it with every step, leaving the Hokage screaming in pain all the way back to their room. The next day, after a particularly grueling training session with his father, Naruto stumbles back to his room only to find it completely empty. Looking back toward the door, he finds his mother leaning against the door frame smiling at him. What happened to my room, Mom? Naruto asks, sighing. This isn't your room, dear. What do you mean this isn't my room? Naruto asks again, quickly getting tired of the conversation. This was your room yesterday, but since Tsunade-ba-chan says that she's moving in, your father and I decide to give her this room. So where is my room now? Down the hall, the second master bedroom. What am I going to do with a huge room like that? Naruto asks, completely awakened by the news. Well, you are the second master of this house. Beside, you'll find enough use for it soon enough, Kushina says. Now why don't you go take a shower and get changed like your father? I'll call the two of you downstairs when dinner's ready. All right, Mom, Naruto says, walking past Kushina and down the hall. And I expect you to help Tsunade-ba-chan move her things over tomorrow, Kushina says, calling after her son. Fine, Naruto says, walking into his room. The first thing Naruto notices when he enters his new room is the absurdly large bed sitting against the wall opposite of the door. Then he notices the numerous closets lining the walls off to his left. Thinking nothing of it, he picks up the fresh change of clothes on his bed and heads to the private bathroom in his room. Half an hour later, Kushina is standing outside the bathroom pounding on the door. What are you doing in there? Hurry up, dinner's ready. All right, Naruto says, opening the door. I've never seen a private bath as large as that. I bet I can swim in it. For now you can. It's really only designed to fit two adults comfortably, Kushina says. Remind me to get a bigger one for you later. Looking at his mother in confusion, Naruto quietly follows his mother downstairs, where all the other occupants of the house is sitting around the dinner table waiting patiently for the last member to arrive. As punishment for making everyone wait, Kushina makes Naruto stay behind after dinner to wash the dishes. Even after feeling refreshed from the bath, Naruto is completely drained by the time he drags himself upstairs. After stumbling in and out of his old room, he opens the door to his new room, takes a look inside, before going back to the hallway to check if he's in the right room. What's wrong, Naruto-sama? Ginko asks from inside the room. What are you girls doing here? This is our room, at least, Kushina-sama says so, Yugito says. And after our talk with Kushina-sama, I think she's right, Tamari says. Why don't you come in and join us, Koyuki says, walking up behind Naruto and wrapping her arms around his waist. I think there's going to be another person moving into this room tomorrow. Pushing Naruto into the room, Koyuki kicks the door close before shoving him into bed. With a squeal, the girls all jump into bed with Naruto and fight for the spots next to Naruto so they can cuddle against him. Sighing, Naruto waits until the girls finally calm down before trying to go to sleep. By the time the three former Jinchuriki are finally ready to enter the academy, Minato allows them to enter as second-year students to cover the missed year due to their training with the three Biju. Of course, if Minato had requested for the children to be promoted to genin, few can complain after seeing their supposed powers in action when they returned from their training. But Naruto himself requested that they be placed with that particular group in order to observe them. Even though the instructors were alerted that Naruto, Gaara, and Yugito would be attending a month before the school year starts, the instructors still cannot believe the three that had shown so much power are standing outside their classroom waiting to be introduced to the other students. "Please come in," Iruka says, opening the door. The entire class becomes completely silent when the three enter the room. Every pair of eyes, including those of Iruka, Suzume, and Mizuki, are focused on Naruto, Gaara, and Yugito. After a quick introduction, they take their seat across an empty row, where Ginkgo is already waiting, having entered unnoticed as everyone's attention was on the three newcomers. While everyone in the room is paying attention to the three instructors as they begin the lesson, Ginkgo looks around the classroom, studying everyone that Naruto asked her to keep an eye on. Throughout the entire class, Ginkgo notices that Hinata keeps stealing glances over at Naruto whenever the instructors aren't paying attention. Thinking that Naruto probably don't want to hear about things like that, Ginkgo keeps this piece of information to herself when she reports to Naruto after the classes are over. Naruto-sama, please wait. Hinata-chan, what's wrong? Naruto asks. My father told me to accompany you back to the Namikaze compound since Hokage-sama invited us over for dinner, Hinata says blushing. Okay, come on. Let's go Hinata-chan. Wait Naruto-kun. Shouldn't we wait for Tenten-chan too? Yugito says. You're right. I'm completely forgot. How can you forget about me? Tenten says, walking up behind Naruto and faking a few sniffles. You really aren't fooling anyone with that, you know, Tenten-chan. You're so mean, Naruto-kun. Sorry Tenten-chan. You ready to go home now? Fine. Only because we have important guests over tonight, Tenten says. You're going to make it up to me, mister. Don't worry Tenten-chan, I promise I'll make it up to you. Walking up, Naruto gives Tenten a quick hug before circling behind her and pushing her out of the academy's courtyard. Giggling, Yugito follows them with Gaara and Ginkgo not far behind. A few moments later, Hinata shakes out of her stunned state and hurries after the group, who is right at the exit looking back toward the frozen girl. Muttering a soft apology, Hinata quietly falls in step with the group on their way to the Namikaze compound. Ah, here are the children, Kushina says as the group enters the house. I hope you all had fun today. It's fine outside the history lessons. I already know the village's history like the back of my hand. Since I was an outsider, I supposed it was interesting to know about Konoha's history, Yugito says. Agreed, Gaara says as he walks past everyone cluttered at the door. So where is everyone? Naruto says, peeking into the empty living room. Minato-kun and Hiyashi-san are discussing something in the study. The ladies should be in the yard enjoying the evening breeze. I'm just here fixing up some small snacks waiting for all of you to get home. I should get started on my assignments. I'll be in my room, Gaara says before walking off. I'm going to put away my things, Tenten says. Kushina-sama. There's no need to be so nervous, dear. Just treat this like your own home. Hi Kushina-sama, Hinata says, is my mother and sister. They are in the yard, dear. Thank you Kushina-sama, Hinata says. Would you like to meet my little sister Naruto-sama? That'd be great Hinata-chan. But Naruto-kun, what about our assignments? Yugito asks. We still have the whole night Yugito-chan. Let's relax a bit first. Besides, we don't have all that much assignments anyway. Well, If you promise you'd help me, I guess a bit of fun can't hurt. Grabbing Hinata and Yugito's wrist, Naruto pulls them out toward the backyard. Blushing at the contact, Hinata allows Naruto to lead her despite the slight pain from the sudden pull. In the short distance from the foyer to the backyard, Hinata's blush manages to spread to her entire body and she looks like she has just come out of a hot spring when she gets to her destination. Hinata ne-sama, who's this? A little girl asks, staring intently at Hinata's wrist, the one that Naruto is still holding. Ah, Hanabi-chan. This is Naruto-sama. Naruto-sama, who is that? Hanabi asks, her eyes still on Hinata's wrist. Naruto-sama is the one that saved me from the mean kidnapper. Who is he? Hanabi asks, pointing at Hinata's wrist. How come he can hold your hand? Ah, sorry about that, Hinata-chan, Naruto says, letting go immediately. It's all right, Naruto-sama. No, it's not. Chichi-Yui never let anyone hold our hand like that, Hanabi says, I'm telling Chichi-Yui. Hanabi-chan, it's all right, a tall woman says, your father only said that because he doesn't trust the others. You can trust Naruto-kun though. Are you sure, haha Yui? Of course. I would never lie to you, Hanabi-chan. Naruto takes a quick look at Hinata and Hanabi's mother. She has the traditional pale eyes and pale skin of the Hyuga. If he has to estimate, she would be right about Hiyashi's height, about an inch shorter at most. She has long hair and a slim figure, like a splitting image of Hinata's adult form when it's not covered by her jacket, but the muscle tone and the calloused hands show she is a very accomplished kunoichi in her own right. He had never seen Hinata's mother in his previous life at all, and neither Hinata nor Hanabi, from what little he's seen of the girl, mentioned anything about her. His questions are answered when Tsunade enters the yard with Kushina holding a bowl of foul-smelling medicine and giving it to Hinata's mother. You're lucky I had the experience from treating Kushina Shiori, Tsunade says. You of all people should know that you should stay calm when you're pregnant. Look at the mess you left yourself with. I couldn't help it, Tsunade-sama. I was so worried when I heard that Hinata-chan was almost kidnapped, Shiori says. Speaking of which, allow me to thank you for saving Hinata-chan, Naruto-sama. That's all right, Shiori-san, Naruto says, picking up her name from Tsunade's words. I can't just stand by and watch my friends get hurt. There was one other problem, one thing, other than the actual kidnapping, that made me a bit nervous. Nervous? Tsunade says, chuckling, from what the guards told me you were ballistic. Please, Tsunade-sama, I need to get this off my chest, Shiori says, what are your intentions with my daughter Naruto-sama? Okawa-san. What are you talking about? Hinata screams. I don't quite understand what you mean, Shiori-san. The Hyuga is a very traditional family, a voice says behind the group. Despite your intentions, the fact remains that you spent the night in my daughter's room, Naruto. But Hiyashi-san, you said it was all right, Naruto says, turning around and facing the man. Besides, I didn't really stay there overnight. I left with my dad after the kidnapper was caught. While those statements are indeed accurate, Hiyashi says, the entire Hyuga clan knows that you stayed in Hinata's room that night. While I understand that nothing could have possibly happened, the elders are quite adamant that you bear responsibility. Well, I just told him about your situation, Minato says, glancing over at the other girls gathered in the yard. Hiyashi-san told me that he and Shiori-san would need to re-examine the situation before making a decision on how to proceed. This kid works fast, doesn't he? Tsunade whispers to Kushina. If Jiraiya hears about this, he's going to have a field day with it. I never did quite realize how popular Naruto is. Is this what I faced when Minato-kun picked me? I'd say it's not even close, considering how Minato has a few more years to attract other girls. Yeah, you're probably right, Tsunade-ba-chan. Tsunade's body stiffens for a brief moment before she grumbles and heads back inside, saying how the sun is bad for her skin. Just as Tsunade is heading back inside, Shizune comes out and announces that dinner is ready. That night, after the Hyugas have gone home and everyone else are back in their room, Naruto and Minato are sitting in the study talking about everything that happened that day. So what do you think, Naruto? Minato asks. Like it matters. Guess not. But I still want to know how you feel about everything so far. It's completely different than my last life, but Ginko-chan is right. I did want things to be different. She does have a point. You did say the same thing when you got Guy to adopt Lee, Minato says. Besides, you can't complain about all those girls. If mom hears that, she'll beat you to a pulp. Yeah, but that's why I didn't say that in front of her. I'm reserving the rights to tell her what you said, Naruto says. Anyways, what do you think Hiashi is up to? He's not the one up to something. The Hyuga elders are the one pushing him to talk to us. He said it to me in private himself. If you aren't my son, he doubts the elders would say anything about it. And I agree with his assessments. So why did you agree? We still need the Hyuga clan on our side. Only they are large enough to balance out the Uchiha clan, Minato says. I know you already took care of Itachi, but we always need to be wary of large clans like the Uchiha and the Hyuga that their power don't get to their heads. I guess you're right. How would you deal with them if you're in my position? Me. Keep the younger ones away from the adults and get the younger ones on my side. Two classic strategies, a voice says from the door, but I like Naruto-sama's plan better. Ginko-chan, you're still up? Naruto asks. All the other girls are still up and talking to each other. It was too noisy to fall asleep. You were talking about the two strategies, Ginko? Minato asks. Hokage-sama's strategy is to use one powerful group to counteract another. Naruto-sama's strategy is to break down the powerful groups from within, Ginko says. Hokage-sama's plan must allow for both powerful groups to be out of line, but Naruto-sama's plan can allow him to exert control on the situation. The best plan, however, is to apply both at the same time, to use the first plan as a means to buy time for the second plan to proceed. Where did you learn all of this? Naruto asks. Chi-Chi-Yui has to deal with similar things all the time. I guess that's going to be a problem no matter where you are, Minato says. Suddenly, Ginko lies down on the sofa in the room and uses Naruto's lap as a pillow. Smiling, Naruto gently strokes Ginko's hair to help the girl fall asleep. Shouldn't you get her back to bed? You heard what she said, the others are still up. She's here because she couldn't fall asleep there. Well, I should be getting to bed myself. Okay. I want to stay up a bit longer. Don't stay up for too long though. Remember, you still have to go to school tomorrow. Don't worry about it. Chuckling, Minato waves casually over his shoulder with his back toward Naruto before leaving the room and closing the doors behind him. As soon as the doors closes, Ginko rolls on her back and stares up at Naruto's face while Naruto continues to stroke Ginko's hair. Naruto-sama, what is it, Ginko-chan? There is something I want to ask you, about the people at the academy. Is it about Hinata? I noticed that you were looking back at her quite a few times. How did you? No, it's not about Hyuga-san. It's about Yamanaka-san. Ino-chan, what's the problem? I noticed that she seems rather scared of you. Whenever you look over at her general direction, she seems to tremble involuntarily. Really? That's odd. Maybe I'll talk to her about it tomorrow. Don't you think it will be better if someone else talks to her? She is rather fearful of you. Yeah, you're right. I'll have someone talk to her to see what's going on. Naruto-sama, what is it, Ginko-chan? Can we stay here tonight? This is comfy. The other girls will be very upset if they find out. I see. But, I guess some rewards are in order for doing such a fine job observing the class today. Naruto chuckles at how Ginko's eyes almost sparkle as soon as the words leave his mouth. Patting her shoulders to gesture for her to sit up, Naruto gets up and locks the doors to the study before returning to his seat and letting Ginko lie down on his lap again. Turning on her side facing away from Naruto, Ginko giggles as he sinks his hands into her silver locks again. Naruto keeps stroking Ginko's hair for another half an hour until she finally falls asleep before closing his eyes and falling asleep himself. The next morning, before anyone is inside the classrooms, Naruto pulls Shikamaru and Choji to the side in the schoolyard and asks them to investigate into the matter brought to his attention yesterday by Ginkgo. After stating in no uncertain terms how troublesome a task it would be, Shikamaru begrudgingly agrees to check in on Ino for Naruto. Oi, Ino. What is it, Shikamaru? Ino says from within a crowd of Sasuke fangirls. I need to ask you something. This has better be good, Ino grumbles as she walks away from the group. Naruto asked me to talk to you. I knew it would be troublesome, but he talked me into it. Nah, Naruto, Ino says. Shikamaru can see what Naruto was talking about when he says that Ino is afraid of him. The fear in Ino's eyes is difficult to miss, neither is the trembling body. What does he want? He wants me to ask you why you're so scared of him, Shikamaru says. After seeing your reaction, I'm kinda curious myself. I have no idea what you're talking about. Right. And I'm sure your body is shaking because it's cold outside. That's right. Ino, you, Choji, and I grew up together. Do you really think I can't read you well enough by now? Fine. It's something stupid anyway. Well, I'm listening. When I was younger, Naruto turned my home into a wild jungle with all kinds of man-eating plants. And how would he be able to do that? It was a genjutsu. I've been scared of Naruto and anything that looks remotely like any of those plants ever since. I seem to remember my old man saying something about that. It's right before Naruto brought that fox back with him, right? That's right. I'm one of the few kids that didn't get anywhere near that fox no matter how much I want to go up and cuddle and play with it because Naruto is always right next to it. I also remember my old man saying you were laughing at him right before he pulled that prank. So you're saying it's my fault? Ino screams, attracting the attention of everyone around them. I don't think the people in Kumo and Iwa heard you, woman, Shikamaru says, trying to shake the ringing out of his ears, and yes, it's partly your fault. He is Hokage-sama's son. You'd think he's not as inept at ninja skills as you tried to make him out to be. But, did you remember how Choji and I were like back then? How we can never find anyone to play with us? Yeah, 'cause Choji was always so terrible at those games. Let's take the reverse situation. Do you think Naruto would have any friends if he tried to act like a know-it-all? Well, perhaps it's about time you deal with your fears. I suggest you go and talk to Naruto and tell him the reason you're so afraid of him yourself, Shikamaru says, walking a few steps away before stopping again. At least, do that if you are serious about being a ninja. There is always the chance you'll have to work with Naruto. Better to take care of it now than to have to deal with it during a mission. Ino, what was that all about? Sakura asks as she walks up to the girl. It's nothing, Ino says. Do you know where Naruto is? Naruto. But I know. Shikamaru's right. It's time I deal with it. He should be inside. Do you want me to come with you? No. You can go back to your Sasuke watching. I will deal with this myself. Right. And I'm sure your knees are trembling because your legs are tired, Sakura says. Come on. We may be rivals, but I don't want to see you fainting, at least not when Sasuke-kun isn't around to see you make a fool out of yourself, that is. You know, Sakura, no matter how we were the best of friends way back when, I absolutely hate you. Good. The feeling's mutual, Sakura says. I would take back my offer to go with you, but you seriously look like you need someone by your side right now, so I'll let that last comment slide. Taking a deep breath, Ino walks inside the academy with Sakura by her side. They find Naruto in his seat with Gaara and Yugito right next to him and the silver fox resting her head on Naruto's lap. Sitting a few rows behind the trio, Choji elbows the sleeping Shikamaru and gestures with his head toward the two girls standing by the door while reaching into his open bag of chips at the same time. Naruto, Ino says. Ino-chan, Sakura-chan, is something the matter? You told Shikamaru to ask me something. Ah, that's right. Shikamaru hasn't told me your answer yet, so I don't know if he asked you yet or not. It's about the trick you pulled on Ino back when we were children, Sakura yells. What? I don't get it. The genjutsu you put on my home, that's why I'm scared of you, Ino says with her head down to let her bangs cover her face. Picking her head up, Ginkgo looks over toward Ino before walking over and nuzzling Ino's leg with her stout. Kneeling down, Ino wraps her arm around Ginkgo and scratches the fox behind her ears. Sorry about that, Ino-chan, Naruto says, I didn't think you'd still be scared after all these years. Well, you should have thought about it more than shouldn't you? Sakura says. The way Ino-chan was talking, she wasn't just bragging about how she learned a new jutsu, she was talking down on other parents. I needed to defend my parents and show that Ino's parents aren't the only ones who cared enough to teach the kids new techniques. I didn't mean to. I know you are proud of your skills and your parents, Ino-chan, but you have to realize that there are always better ninjas out there no matter how strong you've gotten. You need to curb your arrogance or else you'll never survive your missions. I guess you're right, Ino says, sighing. Hey, wait a minute. This is about the mean trick you pulled on me. When did it become my grilling session? Hey, I was hoping you wouldn't notice, Naruto says, scratching the back of his head. Well, at least you did agree that I was right. Besides, it looks like your little problem is already dealt with, Yugito says. You haven't shown an ounce of fear since you've started talking to Naruto-kun. Well, now that you mention it, Ino says, hey, I guess Shikamaru is right after all, like always. It would appear that the rest of the class is coming in soon. Perhaps you two should head to your seats, Gaara says. You're probably right, Ino says. Well, Sakura, though it pains me to say this, thank you for accompanying me. You helped me deal with my confidence before, so let's just say I'm returning the favor, Sakura says. Now we're even. Don't expect more favors from now on. You know what, Sakura? I take back what I said, I'm not grateful that you accompanied me. Yeah, and I'm sorry I ever thought about helping you, Ino. There they go again, Naruto says. You're the reason this happened, Naruto. You're the reason that I ever even need to think of helping Ino. Yeah, you're the reason that I even need to come and talk to you. Hey, that's a bit unfair. Don't worry about it, Yugito-chan, I'm used to it. But Naruto-kun, really? It's alright, Naruto says, we only need to deal with them for a few more minutes at most. By then, either Sasuke or Iruka-sensei will get here. They have an image to uphold. We can hear everything you said, Ino says, huffing and crossing her arms. There's Sasuke, Ino-chan, Naruto says, guiding Ino and Sakura's attention away from himself. With a loud squeal, Ino and Sakura rush over to the door to rejoin the large group of fangirls around Sasuke. Sighing and complaining quietly that the circus has arrived, everyone tries to get back to what they were doing before all the noise started. I wish that would get over Sasuke, Naruto says to himself. They were much happier once they managed to forget all about him. Did you say something, Naruto-kun? No, nothing at all, Yugito-chan, Naruto says before thinking to himself, I need to be more careful, only my parents know about my history. After the group finally heads to their seats, Hinata finally emerges from behind the door, the last one to arrive before the instructors. At that precise moment, Naruto looks back toward the door to see if the three instructors are arriving anytime soon. With a loud eep, Hinata scrambles away from the door and takes the seat farthest from Naruto that's still available, with her face turning scarlet. She still hasn't gotten over yesterday's embarrassment, Yugito says, not that I blame the poor girl. I still don't know what Hiashi was thinking, Naruto says. You'd think they would take her preference into consideration. I think they did, Ginkgo whispers so no one but Naruto, Yugito, and Gaara can hear. She was staring at you and blushing whenever the instructors weren't looking yesterday. Well, maybe Hiashi told Hinata-chan what he was going to do yesterday, Naruto says. Naruto-kun certainly is a very dense person sometimes, isn't he, Ginkgo-chan? Yugito says as she pats Ginkgo's head. What is that supposed to mean? Oh, nothing, Yugito says, an innocent smile plastered on her face. A week later, Hiyashi and Shiori head to the Namikaze compound again, having discussed the situation with each other. When they approach the gate, they see three people just turning the corner on the next street and walking toward them. Given that they have never seen those three people in the village before and the group has nothing that identifies their origin, Hiyashi and Shiori instantly become on edge, getting ready for a sudden assault. Just at that moment, Minato is taking the trash outside. Oh, Hiyashi-san, Shiori-san, what brings you two here? Hokage-sama, perhaps we should talk inside, Shiori says, trying to get away from the three strangers. Oi, Minato, one of the three strangers screams. Curious, Minato stretches his neck to see past Hiyashi and Shiori. Walking up toward them are a man with flaming red hair, wearing a yellow shirt, long white pants, and an open blood-red robe, a man with brown hair, wearing a yellow muscle shirt with the sleeves torn off, a pair of dark brown fingerless glove, and a pair of white sweatpants, and a woman with waist-length black hair, wearing a black kimono with white pants underneath. Oh, Kitsune, Neko, Tanuki, what brings the three of you here? Do you know them, Hokage-sama? Shiori asks. They are my associates from other areas. I usually communicate with them using code names. I see. I was concerned that they are intruders, Hiyashi says. Even with them trying to suppress their strength, I can still sense the power flowing within their body. So, no sense standing around out here. Let's talk inside, Minato says. Oh my, what brings all these rare guests here today? Kushina asks as everyone enters the mansion. I'm just here with Kitsune, Shukaku says, using the alias the Hokage made for them, that and to check in on my godson. And I'm my goddaughter, Nekomata says. You have godchild living here? Shiori asks. Oh, they're just talking about Gara-kun and Yugito-chan, Kushina answers for the two Biju, but the children are at the academy right now. Ginko-chan is out in the yard with Koyuki-chan though. She'll notice my presence soon enough. There is no need for me to find her. As if on cue, the human form Ginko bursts into the living room and jumps into Kyuubi's arms. Just from picking up the girl, Kyuubi can tell that she is merely a clone. Since the children are at the academy at the moment, the Kyuubi figures that his daughter is with Naruto in her beast form. Putting the clone on the floor, the Kyuubi turns his attention toward Minato again as Hiyashi starts to speak. Hokage-sama, even after alerting my clan's council of Naruto's availability, they have decided that they will continue their pursuit. I see, Minato says. Well, I suppose I should draft the documents then. Suddenly, Shiori lets out a sigh, drawing everyone's attention on her. Is something wrong, Shiori-san? Kushina asks. No, it's nothing. I suppose I should be happy. This is what Hinata-chan wanted after all, especially after what Naruto did for her, Shiori says. The problem lies with Hanabi-chan. She seems to have taken an interest in Naruto after meeting him, constantly asking Hinata-chan and I about him. I wonder how she would react to the news. Well, I'm sure it can't be too bad, Minato says. There is a rivalry between Hinata and Hanabi. Ever since Hanabi was born, they knew that it would be their destiny to compete against each other in all aspects of life. Hiyashi says, I suppose one of them shall be the heir of the clan, and by all counts Hinata should be the heir since she is the eldest child. However, Hanabi has proven to be much more talented than Hinata, even at her young age, and probably in part due to their one-sided rivalry. So since your eldest daughter has taken an interest in Naruto, your youngest is doing the same just for the sake of beating her sister, Kyuubi says. Sounds like something you should nip at the bud. It is not quite as simple. While the initial approach is probably due to the rivalry, it would appear that Hanabi has taken a genuine interest in Naruto. Where this interest may lead I have no idea, but it certainly is concerning to say the least, Shiori says. Even at his age he already has women trouble, Minato says. Just like you did all those years ago, Hokage-sama. It hasn't been that long ago, Hiyashi. You still remember what the council tried on me the first couple of years after Kushina-chan was in a coma, don't you? I suppose I do. What did they try, Minato-kun? Kushina says, fire burning in her eyes. They tried to find other women for Hokage-sama to marry. Hiyashi says, of course, Hokage-sama enlisted the help of a number of clans to fight the proposal to a standstill. A number of clans? Kyuubi asks. The Uchiha clan was a strong supporter of the proposal, probably in part due to the fact that at least one of the women would come from their clan. Hokage-sama enlisted the help of my clan along with those of the Yamanaka, Nara, Akamichi, Inuzuka, and Aburame to fight off the political alliance between the Uchiha and some of the smaller clans. So what happened? Kushina asks. Naruto happened, Minato says. Like I said, they only tried to force the proposal the first couple of years, because by then, every time they want to approach the issue, Naruto would cause quite a stir in the council chamber. We all know firsthand just exactly how destructive Naruto can be when he wants to. I think I can still see the remnant of some of the tricks Naruto left behind in that chamber. That's my boy. I'm glad you're happy about it, Kushina-san, Shiori says. The council gave it one last shot when Naruto was 4. It took me ages to help Hiyashi-kun clean off the stench of the stink bombs he left in that place. That's probably how Hanabi-chan came about, right? What are you complaining about? Kushina says. That's not the point. Shiori screams, blushing. Kushina-chan, that's enough. There are other people in the room, Minato says. Oh, sorry about that, Kushina says, looking completely embarrassed, though not as much as Shiori. Regardless, Hiyashi says, clearing his throat to get everyone's attention, Kitsune-san is right, the Hanabi situation is something we should keep a close eye on. Well, let's get to my office to work on the document, Minato says. When will the children be home, by the way? Nekomata asks. Minato-kun and I are going to see them at the academy in about half an hour, Kushina says. Their class should be having a sparring session then. Interesting, I think I shall check in on their progress as well. After all, I need to see if Naruto is fit to be my son-in-law. And my godson-in-law as well. Kitsune-san, Neko-san, you mean to say that Naruto-kun is engaged to Ginko-chan and Yugito-chan as well? And my daughter as well, Shiori, Tsunade says, coming downstairs, along with the sand and snow princesses. Tenten-chan, Koyuki-chan, and Tamari-chan too. Why do you sound so surprised, Shiori? I thought we discussed this already. But Hiyashi-kun, you only told me that there are a couple of girls who are interested. You didn't tell me that Hinata-chan would be 6th in line. Would it have made a difference? Hiyashi asks, staring at his wife. Well, no, and I don't think Hinata-chan would mind, not with her nature. Then why does it matter if it's 2, 6, or even 10 or 20? If you put it that way. Come on, Shiori-san, Neko-san, Tsunade-ba-chan, let's have some small talk over a cup of tea in the yard while the men handle whatever business they have, Kushina says. All right, I'll have Shizune brew the tea, Tsunade says. You're making poor Shizune-chan do all the chores for you, Tsunade-ba-chan. Well, she's my apprentice. Besides, she loves doing these kinds of domestic works. Are you sure she isn't complaining because you are practically ordering her to do the chores? She really doesn't mind at all. She'll be a good housewife someday, Tsunade says as Shizune comes downstairs. Tsunade-sama, you're not trying to get rid of me, are you? Shizune asks, rushing toward the Sannin with a concerned look on her face. No, I'm not trying to get rid of you, Tsunade says, it's just that I don't want you to dedicate your entire life just for me. Why don't I go and make the tea while you two talk it out, Kushina says. No, it's okay, Kushina-sama, I'll do it, Shizune says. When the adults arrive at the academy, the students have already been paired up to spar. Looking around, they see that all the parents are gathered around the schoolyard, trying to find a good spot to watch their children. Amongst the chaos, Gaara, with his arms crossed like always, walks up to the large empty space in the middle as Kiba rushes up after him, his trusted companion Akamaru by his side. Come on Kiba, show him what you got. A woman screams out from the group's right. That's right. Don't embarrass us Kiba. A young woman screams next to her. Hey, mom, sis, don't worry about it. I'll take care of him in no time, Kiba says. He's always hiding behind Naruto and Yugito in a fight, I bet he can't fight at all. If this is the way Kiba's going to act, he's going to get his clock cleaned, a voice says right in front of Minato. Hey dad. Glad you can make it. There you are Naruto, I've been looking all over for you, Minato says. So, who are you fighting? Uchiha Sasuke. Do try to take it easy on him, alright Naruto. Take it easy on him. Hiashi says, aren't you a bit too overconfident about Naruto's ability Hokage-sama? Uchiha Sasuke is one of the more talented students in this class. Oh, I wouldn't worry too much about it, Minato says as Iruka moves to the middle of the yard, looks like the match is starting. As soon as Iruka begins the match, Kiba leaps back with Akamaru by his side, trying to find an opening to strike. Gaara simply remains in his spot, arms still folded, and stares at Kiba with a bored expression. Well, aren't you going to attack? Gaara taunts. That's it. Now you're going to get it. Charging forward, Kiba s his right arm back, trying to use the momentum to increase the strength of his punch. However, a spike wall of sand rises from the ground and stops him 2 feet in front of Gaara. Stopping himself just in time, Kiba jumps back to find another opening, but as soon as his feet touches the ground, the wall collapses and Gaara charges through the sand to punch the surprised Kiba, sending him into the trees around the yard. Kiba never stood a chance against Gaara, Naruto comments as 2 new contestants enter the yard. Oh, Yugito-chan and Hinata-chan are next. So Kaneko-chan is fighting against Hiashi-san's daughter, interesting, Nekomata says. Hinata takes the Jiyuken stance the moment she steps into the yard, while Yugito can hardly contain her excitement, shifting her weight from side to side eager to begin the match. When the match begins, Yugito charges forward right into Hinata's defense but changes direction in the last second to circle around Hinata and strikes the Hyuga from behind. Hinata staggers a few steps before quickly spinning around, but Yugito is already right in front of her. When Hinata tries to put up her arms to defend, Yugito circles around Hinata again. Instead of striking Hinata, however, Yugito simply whispers something in Hinata's ears. The reaction is instantaneous as Hinata activates her Byakugan and spins around, throwing Jiyuken strike after Jiyuken strike before Yugito can even back away. Just what did Yugito-chan tell Hinata-chan? Naruto says to himself. With her left arm disabled by the Jiyuken strikes, Yugito leaps back to get away from Hinata's frantic strikes. While continuing to dodge, Yugito focuses her chakra to her left shoulder and blasts it down her left arm to force open the chakra points. With her Byakugan activated, Hinata is shocked to see the effect of her strikes diminish. Also, Yugito's chakra level continues to increase as Hinata is starting to slow down from the strain on her chakra by the continuous use of the Byakugan and Jiyuken. How can you be so strong? Hinata says, breathing hard and her Byakugan receding. I might not look it, but I train very hard every day, Yugito says, smirking. Like I said, if you want to even have a chance to impress Naruto-kun, you still have to work much harder. Please don't tell me she just said what I think she said, Naruto says on the sideline. Okay, I won't. Mom. With Hinata running out of chakra, Yugito only needs a few well-placed strikes to knock Hinata out. Walking up to the 2 kunoichi in training, Naruto helps Yugito move Hinata to her parents just as 2 other female students prepare for their turn. Hey Naruto, who are they? Minato asks as he tries to find a chakra pill for Hinata. Oh, that's Sakura-chan and Amy, Naruto says, my match is right after theirs. Their build, they might struggle with some of the more physical tasks of being a ninja. I'm not going to tell them that, Naruto says, you can go and tell them. That's scary, huh? You have no idea. It doesn't take very long for Sakura to fall flat on her face. Sighing, Naruto walks out to the middle of the yard as Amy celebrates with her crowd. Walking up to Sakura, Naruto offers his hand to help her up. Sasuke-kun is supposed to come here and comfort me. Why do you have to go and ruin everything? He's already standing there waiting for his turn to fight Sakura-chan. Naruto says, are you sure you want to keep lying there and delaying his fight? With one look over at the boy of her dreams, Sakura quickly scrambles to her feet and heads to the sidelines. While waiting for Iruka to begin the match, Naruto does some light stretching while glancing over at the ever-impatient Sasuke out of the corner of his eyes. The crowd all await the battle with bated breath, and occasionally, people would complain about the delay as Iruka talks with his colleagues, none of whom seem to have any desire of proctoring the match. Eventually, Iruka begrudgingly steps between the two students and explains the rules once again, just to make sure that the two completely understand them. Oh, step aside Iruka, Tsunade says after seeing the hesitation in the Chunin's eyes, if you're so worried about proctoring this match then I'll do it. Please go ahead Tsunade-sama, Iruka says, not even bothering to hide the look of relief on his face. It would be our honor to have one of the Sannin proctor a match. All right, Tsunade says, taking Iruka's spot, I trust that we all know the rules. So let's start the match. The moment Tsunade begins the match, Sasuke charges forward, trying to gain the advantage. Naruto steps to the side at the last moment, sticking out his foot to trip Sasuke, making the Uchiha lose his balance. Stumbling a few steps before spinning around to find Naruto standing in the same spot smiling at him. Growling in anger, Sasuke charges again only to have the same thing happen. Before Sasuke can try for a third time, Naruto decides to make his move. Instead of moving straight for Sasuke however, Naruto moves from side to side, making Sasuke shift his weight constantly to guard against Naruto's movement. As Naruto gets closer to Sasuke, the width of his movement becomes progressively narrower. Up in the trees, a particular kunoichi narrows her eyes seeing Naruto's steps. Once Naruto gets within striking range, his movement speeds up, drawing Sasuke to guard one side before quickly shifting his weight to attack the unguarded side. Naruto manages to get a good number of hits in before Sasuke decides to stay still to guard both sides and waits for the perfect moment to counter. The moment Sasuke shifts his tactics, Naruto also changes his strikes, moving from a speed-based to a power-based attack as Naruto tries to break down Sasuke's defense. Seeing that Sasuke can never hope to counter Naruto's attacks, Minato tries to go in and stop the match, but Kushina pulls her husband back. Kushina-chan, don't you think that's quite enough? Don't worry Minato-kun. Naruto-kun knows what he's doing, Kushina says, besides, it'll do him good to let off some steam. I hope you're right. When they turn their attention back to the fight, they find that Naruto has pushed Sasuke back within steps of the crowd, a few feet away from a glaring Uchiha Fugaku who is clearly disappointed with his son's inability to mount a comeback. With everyone's attention focused on the fight, they miss a small girl of around 7 years old standing amongst the Uchiha contingent who's looking at Naruto with pure adoration. When the fight is finally over with Naruto knocking Sasuke out cold and sprawling on the ground right at Uchiha Fugaku's feet, every Uchiha member besides Uchiha Makoto, who is tending to her son, leaves the academy, not one sparing a glance at the defeated Sasuke. Everyone standing in the schoolyard is clearly appalled by the Uchiha's reaction. When Tsunade offered to use her medical ninjutsu to help Sasuke recover, Makoto simply thanked Tsunade but refused the offer before helping her son stand up and heads back to the Uchiha compound together, seeing that classes are over for the day anyway. That was rather rude of them, Naruto comments as he and Tsunade walks back toward Minato. I still think you overdid it Naruto, Minato says. Oh well, someone's got to knock that arrogant bastard down a few pegs. Even I think that was a bit much Naruto, Kushina says, you didn't have to completely embarrass him in front of everyone like that. Guess I don't know my own strength. This is serious, Naruto. You don't go and embarrass a clan like the Uchiha in front of everyone and get away with it. There's going to be major trouble. Don't worry, Okawa-san. If they want trouble, I'll give them more trouble than they'll ever want, Naruto says. Beside, it's important for me to do that. Everyone is saying that there are only a few candidates to succeed Otou-san as the Hokage, and Sasuke and I are two of them. Now that I completely destroyed Sasuke in a fight, it gives me an edge down the road. Well, I suppose I can't argue with that logic, Minato says, but there are still more immediate concerns that who will become the Hokage in the future, like how to repair relations with the Uchiha clan. There are no relations for you to repair in the first place, Otou-san, Naruto says. They've been going against every one of your decisions ever since you became Hokage, didn't they? Yes, but they are still one of the major clans of Konoha. Well, if they want trouble, then Kitsune-sensei and I will take care of them. Don't get overconfident, Naruto. The Uchiha clan is at worst an even match for all of us combined, Kyuubi says, and if they truly are the master of the Sharingan like they claim to be, then we will be at a definite disadvantage. Anyway, are there more interesting matches? Minato says before their discussion starts to draw interest. No, not really. You guys missed most of the fights, Naruto says. So I guess school is over for the day, right? Kushina says, so let's go home already. Yes, we still have many things to discuss, Minato, Kyuubi says, glancing over at the tree where the kunoichi was glaring at Naruto. With most of the children having already gone through the sparring session for the day, the crowd gathered in the yard starts to thin out. The group heads out along with everyone else after Tenten and Tamari have joined them. When they are almost back to the Namikaze compound, Kyuubi suddenly grabs a hold of Naruto and takes out 2 shuriken from his weapons pouch and fires them into a tree to the side. There are 2 loud clanks as the shuriken are deflected and a shadow jumps out of the tree, attempting to attack the Kyuubi. Before they can exchange blows, however, Minato moves in and stops the kunoichi. Anko, what are you doing? Hokage-sama, he attacked me. The way you were perched on that tree and with your glare on Naruto, I could have sworn you're the one who's looking for a chance to attack. Is what Kitsune said true? Minato asks, what's going on here? I think I can answer that, Naruto says. The moves I used to beat Sasuke, at least the first part of it, was Anko Nei-chan's Hubby no Mai. I saw her practicing with it once, then I got overexcited against Sasuke and used it without thinking. Not only did you spy on me, you stole my moves and actually have the gall to use them without my permission. Anko says, I never used those moves in battle, now everyone will think that I got them from you. Well, there is a simple solution to that, Minato says, I'll have you train Naruto, then you can tell everyone you are the one that taught him the Hubby no Mai. After all, Naruto's form is still rather rough around the edges. Since you created it, and he learned the basics of it already, it shouldn't be too difficult for him to improve. You're allowing me to teach someone, Hokage-sama. I don't see why not. After all, you are a perfectly loyal shinobi and I know you can be a perfectly capable instructor if given the chance. But the council, well, I guess you'll just have to do such a good job that they can't complain about it, Minato says. You don't have any problem with that arrangement, right, Hiashi? No, I have no complaints at all. In fact, I would like for her to teach Hinata the same style. With her flexibility, the style would complement her Jiyuken style very well. Actually, I was hoping to ask if she would teach Kaneko-chan as well. You don't have any problems with that, do you, Anko? No, of course not. Anko says, I won't let you down, Hokage-sama. Thank you so much. Through their training with Anko, Naruto, Yugito, and Hinata's taijutsu ability improved greatly. Though unconventional and oftentimes almost impossibly harsh, Anko's training did produce the desired result. During the first part of training, Anko would have the 3 children go through stretching exercises in order to increase their flexibility. On the first few days, The three children would return home needing medical help from Shizune and Tsunade to treat all the different strains and sometimes torn muscles until they adjusted to the trainings. The second part of the training involved Anko going through the concepts behind the style and, occasionally, she would bring actual snakes to training in order for the children to observe the snake's movement. Also during this stage, Naruto and Yugito would sometime teach Gaara about the style and help him incorporate the concepts into the use of his sand. It's after the three children have mastered the first two steps that Anko decided to teach them the actual stance and movements of the Hubby no Mai. On the side, the brash Tokubetsu Junin would try to work on building Hinata's confidence. On one occasion, Hanabi, after finding out that Hinata has a new instructor, demanded that she be trained by Anko as well, only to completely give up a month later due to the harshness of the training. When Anko brought up that point a few days later, Hinata would meekly point out that Anko had been especially harsh on Hanabi after getting upset at the little girl's attitude. From that day on, whenever Anko brings Hanabi's training up again, Hinata's response got fiercer and fiercer until even Naruto and Yugito were shocked by the often shy girl. Of course, the confidence only stayed in the training ground, as Hinata would return to her usual timid self when training ended for the day, a fact that vexed Anko to no end. The entire training spanned just about a year, after which Anko decided to let the children work through the rest by themselves, using their unique traits to develop the style into something that belongs only to them. While the three children were training under Anko, Kyuubi took Ginkgo back to the demon world to further her training per Ginkgo's request. Ginkgo felt that the academy was not teaching her anything capable of assisting Naruto in the future. The taijutsu taught at the academy is completely useless once the trainees become full-fledged ninjas, and the basic jutsus, Kawarimi no Jutsu, Henge no Jutsu, and Bunshin no Jutsu can easily be duplicated with her demon powers, as proven with the human form clone that Ginkgo has been using. Being a relatively young demon herself, she also felt that she should learn about the inner workings of the demon world to prepare for the day Naruto finally takes over for her father. Also during this period, the Namikaze household receives a surprise after one of Kushina's checkups. What do you mean the family is getting a new member? Calm down Naruto, Minato says, I thought you would want a sibling. A sibling? Oh, so I'm not getting another wife. Naruto says, that would mean, mom's pregnant. That's right Naruto-kun, Kushina says as she walks down the staircase. Mom, you shouldn't be moving around like this. Oh calm down Naruto, I can move about just fine. But, she's right Naruto. Just because Kushina's pregnant it doesn't mean she should be stuck in bed all day, Tsunade says, coming downstairs. In fact, a moderate amount of exercise will do both her and the baby some good. Well, if you say so Tsunade ba-chan. Regardless, you should be a bit more careful Kushina. You're really just around the time when it would start to get dangerous to have a baby and your coma spell before doesn't help things at all. You worry too much Tsunade ba-chan. Quit fooling around Kushina. I am serious. Don't worry Tsunade ba-chan. Dad and I will keep a close eye on mom, Naruto says, I won't let anything happen to mom. On the academic side, the three children have no problem breezing through the classes. During the spars, they would be amongst those who are the most impressive. Coincidentally, with the students divided into two groups, one with only male students and the other with only female students, Sasuke is never paired up with either Gaara or Naruto, but all the opponents he did face would invariably require medical attention after the match. Sasuke is getting more and more violent, Naruto says. You do know that the two of you are his real targets, right? Yugito says, he's only doing this because he thinks the teachers would have to put him against either one of you eventually just to minimize damage. Still, he is starting to become out of control, Naruto says, the only reason I don't want to put him in his place is to avoid letting him know just how much stronger I am. I suppose he is not someone who take defeats well. Not someone who is likely to give up on what they want either by the looks of it, Yugito says. Well, we can't worry about him now. Let's go. Naruto, I challenge you to a spar. Sorry Sasuke, I'm not interested. Are you scared? Think what you want. Gaara, Yukito-chan, let's go home. The moment the group turns their back to Sasuke, the Uchiha goes through several hand seals and performs the Kaden, Gukaku no Jutsu. Before the fireball finds its mark, a wall of sand suddenly appears between the attack and its target. Everyone in the schoolyard has to shield their eyes from the swirling flames so no one saw how Naruto bursts through the fire and punches Sasuke in the stomach, sending him into the trees, only the loud cracks as a tree falls to the ground giving everyone a clue what had happened. Before Yugito can move in to stop Naruto, he is already running after Sasuke, the blade of his kunai glistening in the sun. Eyes widening in fear, Sasuke can only crawl backward, desperately trying to get away from Naruto. An arm reaches out and grabs hold of Naruto's wrist just before he can drive the kunai into Sasuke's chest. I know Sasuke attacked you and your friends when your backs were turned, but it doesn't warrant killing him, Naruto, Iruka says. Sasuke, this is your last warning. Naruto growls, if you ever try to hurt any one of my friends again, not a person in this world can stop me from killing you. Come on Naruto-kun, let's just go home, Yugito says, tugging Naruto's sleeves. Giving Sasuke one last glare, Naruto puts the kunai away and leaves the schoolyard with Gaara and Yugito flanking his side, trying to prevent him from going after Sasuke again. At the entrance, the group spots Makoto, who saw everything that transpired and has an apologetic look on her face. Ignoring her, Naruto simply stomps off toward the Namikaze compound while Yugito and Gaara stop briefly to show the wife of the Uchiha clan head the proper respect. When the pair finally catches up to Naruto, they find the boy standing outside the door to the mansion. Naruto-kun, don't worry Yugito-chan, I'm just trying to calm myself, Naruto says, Mom is pregnant. It won't do to scare her by slamming the door. Naruto-kun, I know Sasuke is a jerk and all, but I have a feeling that you seem to get angry for every little thing he does. Attacking us for no reason isn't a little thing Yugito-chan, Naruto says. However, you know very well that the attack will do us no harm, Gaara says as he walks past them and enter the building. If I don't stop him now, what's to stop him when he does have the power? I guess you do have a point there. We are not going to pass judgment on you Naruto. I'm sure you know what's best. I decided to stay here instead of returning to Suna because you are someone I can trust my life with. Thanks Yugito-chan, thank you Gaara. Now what are you kids standing around in the hall for? Come in, Kushina says from the living room. We were just talking Mom. Oh, something you don't want me to hear. Kushina teases. No, that's not it. I'm just kidding dear, why are your clothes singed? This is just from a little spar. Naruto, what are you hiding? Sasuke attacked us with a Gukaku no Jutsu in the schoolyard Kushina-sama. Yugito-chan, Naruto hisses. He did what? Don't worry about it Mom. I took care of him. But Naruto, he still attacked you. He still has a long ways to go before he can hurt us Mom, Naruto says. He might be an Uchiha and might get the Sharingan eventually, but the three of us also have a trump card. For all our sake, I hope that you guys don't ever have to use your trump card, Kushina says. Well, I'm just about to start fixing dinner, do you want to help me Yugito? Of course Kushina-sama, Yugito says, handing her bag to Naruto, please take this back to our room for me Naruto-kun. Ever since his latest defeat to Naruto, Sasuke has dedicated himself to even more rigorous training, determined to defeat the Hokage's son. However, no matter how many times Sasuke attempts to challenge Naruto afterward, either one of the instructors or a nearby ninja would no doubt step in before Naruto can even respond, making up some excuse to separate the two. This must be Dad's work, Naruto says, after being called upon for another errand. There is no way there can be this many distractions. But this means that you won't have to fight Sasuke, Yugito says, walking up next to Naruto. Blatantly obvious, but effective nonetheless. I'm going to have a word with Dad after I get home. The excuses are sounding more and more ridiculous every day. Suddenly, a person walks out of a side street and stops right in front of Naruto. Shocked by the sudden entrance, the three young ninja in training leap backward and reach for their weapon pouch. Naruto-san, may I have a word with you? Makoto-san, is something the matter? It's about Sasuke as well as the Uchiha clan. Why talk to me about your clan, Makoto-san? It's not something I should talk to Hokage-sama about, at least not at this moment. Should Gaara and I go on ahead? Yugito asks, tugging on Naruto's sleeve. Well, no, it's all right. They can stay. What do you want to tell me, Makoto-san? I want to ask you to pretend to lose a match against Sasuke. What? Naruto screams before quickly regaining his composure. My apologies, Makoto-san. I understand that you want to see Sasuke succeed, but I can't do it. This is beyond just a rivalry between you and my son Naruto-san. Fugaku has been behaving strangely recently. I think he is plotting something, and ever since Itachi's death he has been dedicating more time to his plan, Makoto says. I don't know what he's planning, but from his behaviors since he saw Sasuke's defeat at your hands, I'm worried that his plans means harm to Konoha. So you think by me losing to Sasuke, it would stop whatever it is that he's planning? I'm hoping that it would be the case. With all due respect, I highly doubt that, Makoto-san. If your husband does intend to do Konoha harm, then things are already beyond repair, Naruto says. I understand your hesitancy to report any of this to my dad, and I can promise you that I won't tell him unless it is absolutely necessary. But I should advise you, Makoto-san, you should decide where your allegiance lie if your husband does intend to revolt. The fact that you came to me shows that you know the gravity of the situation. I hope that you give it some thought. I can't speak to you too much without attracting suspicion. Even coming to you here in the first place is a huge risk, Makoto says. This is a picture of my niece Kyoko. She is a big fan of yours, so the clan wouldn't get too suspicious if she hangs out around you all the time. If I have any new messages, I'll communicate them to you through her. Thank you, Makoto-san. At this point, I can only ask this of you, Naruto-san, Makoto says. Not everyone in the Uchiha clan follows my husband blindly. I hope if something does happen, that Hokage-sama doesn't view everyone in my clan in the same light. I understand, Makoto-san, I won't let that happen. As soon as Makoto leaves, Naruto's entire demeanor changes. Even Yugito and Gaara take a couple of steps back from the pure killer intent. Nah, Naruto-kun.